Like every great turning point in a man's life, Didi found himself sitting, unsettling, on his black leather office chair in front of his brokerage account. Everything else is in the green, except for 4 line items: MMAT, GMTX options, and TEDU. Didi quickly smirked at TEDU because deep down, he knows that this gamble is worth it, and he's confident that the thrill and the reward at the end of the play will pay off as if he knew the founder of the company himself. Ignoring GMTF options as he finally rested his eyes on MMAT. Deep down, he knew that GMTX was a lost cause anyways, and he already accepted that. But MMAT? The stocks that he shared a deep love and hate relationship with. He knew that the 50% loss was solely on him because he somehow developed attachment to the sentiment of his own YouTube community. And such sympathy towards the helpless retail players in the market fostered his temporary failure and caused his conditions to worsen. What conditions, you may ask? Didi could feel his hand shaking, touching his keyboard. Because every time he failed to cut the loss in MMAT, a part of him that belongs to Jimmy grows. As Jimmy grows, Didi can sense even more darkness surrounding him. I can't lose control to him, he whispered to himself while no one else is in the room. Come to me, embrace the darkness. A sinister voice seemed to enjoy Didi's company. Reaching out to the glass of water on his table, Didi actually was considering the darkness offered for a minute. Then his rational self tells him that the darkness is just the mere opposition of Jimmy. Didi knew that the only way he can be himself again is to achieve the unimaginable, the unthinkable, the one thing that 99% of people will consider as anti-human, inhuman, crazy, and neurotic. Are you really ready to cut losses 50%? Didi stared at the already blacked out screen of his computer, and the only thing he can see is a reflection of his own demon. Hey, what is up, dudes and dudettes? After that narration, you guys know that there's gonna be a big announcement by the end of this video. So if you want to hear that, keep tuned for that and watch the entirety of this video. So in this video, we're gonna address the IR response to us, and we also received a personal email from George. It's really nice of him, because he went dark and he still responded to our email. We're really grateful that happened, and he redirected us to the IR person, sort of as we expected, because CEO doesn't really have time for small players like us who only have not even like 2K viewers, who probably just like 2 young kids who doesn't understand what they're doing, and just ask a question on Twitter, and probably people just overlook that anyways. So before we got the IR response, or more like right after we sent that letter, we already write out 4 scenarios, and hopefully there's going to be a 5th scenario that we haven't anticipated, and I haven't read that email yet. So you guys are just going to be like me, who just as fresh as I am when we were reading the IR response. So let's go over what the scenarios that we sort of anticipated. The first scenario is the IR confirmed our math and tell us that, hey, there are actually math missing. There are actually money missing, right? That's literally impossible. I mean, I even sarcastic write a comment for myself. It's like, laugh my ass off. Really, Didi? You think honesty is really a common language in finance, or you really think they're just gonna say that? They're probably just gonna refer us to some SEC filings, which we already been reading for the past few months, because we are just some numbers guy who wants data, right? The second possibility is the IR guy corrected Sterling's tweet and then gave out the answer of a $140 million raise with the correct timeline, but that would also raise some very interesting question, because let me show you this math. The reason why, I mean, Sterling's tweet is just like the 140 raise, the chronological order is wrong. Therefore, it makes it sort of not correct in its own way. But in here, the second scenario would be, you know, the end result is the same, like 140 million raised, and you will have 110 million sort of quote unquote parked at the facility. It's just like, I mean, okay, here's the math, okay? In order to raise 147 million from merger, you need to raise at least 147 million divided by 0.97, which equals to 152 million, due to the 3% fee to the underwriter. So you have to pay 3% fee to the underwriter. Therefore, in order to raise 147 million, like what they actually disclose in their thank you from, you can literally see this in a cash flow statement. It says proceeds from reverse takeover, 146 9,540,000, okay, whatever this is, we run it out to 147 million. So you need to raise at least 152 million to achieve that, and you actually need to raise a little bit more than that. So that means the first offering has to go through. We already confirmed that, we already know that. And the second offering, you have to raise at least 52 million based on their own financial statement. And if you need to raise another 52 million, that means you have less than 110 million parked in the facility. That would trigger other mathematical thing that we have calculated before. And as at this point, we're not really sure if we should put that video on or not. And you know, I know a lot of you just gonna, you know, take every word, you know, as for granted or as it is and just believe, but hey, at this point, we're not even sure if we just, you know, stand up and you know, fight for this is worth our time or worth our effort, because a part of the community actually doesn't really care. They just think we are the reason the stock is tanking. We're actually sort of helping the shareholders by trying to dig to the bottom of this. So then we're like, if it's not really worth it to do this thing, then if scenario 2 happens, then, you know, we can do something ourselves, right? Then scenario 3 is the IR guy says something like, hey, good question, guys. Why don't we arrange a meeting with the CFO, or let me get the ATM finance firm a call to check the situation, right? And if this happens, I will buy twice the amount of shares in Meta, even if I have to sell my kidney. Because this is showing that they care, the IR team is super great, but I doubt that's going to happen. So I will put that in 20%, and scenario number 2 at 60%. And scenario number 4 is, you know, some other very official answer similar to item number 2, but closer to the actual number of the offering when closed, like I said in the mathematical, you know, disclosure or whatever we have. Like we straight took that from their balance sheet. Okay, we didn't do anything. These are all pure math, and all the data are available online. And if it's somewhere around the second scenario, then just means, you know, the IR guy actually checked Twitter. And I mean, the least thing you can do is call the ATM finance firm and just ask them for confirmation instead of using Twitter as an echo chamber. And we never say that any opinions or any tweets on Twitter is actually a correct information. You need to actually either do the math yourself, go ask the ATM finance firm, or somewhat get confirmation with the CFO, right? And you know, according to, you know, number 2, by the timeline of how fast we get the reply, it doesn't seem like there are internal communication. But again, I haven't you know, look at the thing yet, so we're just reading it together. And by how number 2 reacts to this, I think he was laughing at me when I told him that I'm just gonna read with you guys. He's like, good luck. So let's read it together. Yep, there you go. Open up for me. The investor relationship said, hey Jay, because we wrote the email as Jimmy. Okay, said please refer to published and filed material as investors metamaterial SEC filings in May 2021. Torch filed an S3 shelf registration of 150 million with an addition of 100 million in ATM covered by the same registration. In days leading up to the closing, Torch raised ATM funds of 100 million. Shortly after the 100 million was raised, Torch filed an amended S3 to convert the remaining 150 million on the shelf registration to ATM funds, of which approximately 50 million was raised prior to the closing. and 110 million of capacity remains on the ATM facility. As of June 30th, 2021, the consolidated company had 155 million of cash after paying cost and expense related to the cost and other ordinary corporate costs. Please refer to the SEC filings for any other information. They doesn't seem to answer our question of why on June 28th, press release, the CFO quoted that Meta had, over $160 million in cash and virtually debt free. So this, well, it is what it is, right? We have to take it as it is gold. We have to take it as, as if it is right, because and again, we've been thinking about it. There's no way we would actually find out what is really going on unless we actually worked in the company, right? So we can only take their words as it is. And unfortunately, this follows our second scenario. Therefore, this leads me to announce the announcement. Hey, what is up, guys? This is Dude here, and you guys know that there's gonna be a big announcement if I, was being so serious in the narration, and it just turned out that unfortunately the our response matched with our scenario number 2, and as I talked to number 2 before, if it matches with scenario number 2, then hey, I am gonna basically sell off at a loss. I'm gonna cut my losses at 50%. It's like chopping half of my body off, but I have to do it. Yeah, this is what I decided to do, and I decided to only take away about 1/3 of the entire shares that I own in Meta. I decided to sell off in the next 3 days, and leading towards the option expiration day of August 20th, and maybe leading towards the beginning of next week. Because hey, I went to see some psychiatrists, and we realized that Jimmy and I were essentially the same person sharing the same body but with different personality. But technically, there's a third personality you guys haven't met yet. So all of us controls 1/3 of our own portfolio, and I can only control the 1/3 that I have control over. So I decided to pull out my money and say, good luck, have fun to all of you. But Jimmy will be covering Mmat from now on. And it's been a really wild journey. It's been fun. We got a lot of hate. We got a lot of support along the way. And for those of you who are just curious on how much money are actually parked at the ATM facility, you can actually know that by the end of Q3, where they have to, when they're doing their Q3 earning report, they're required by the SEC to disclose that. So and I bet you have to wait until November to really know how much is there, and sort of deal with the repercussion of a double dilution situation. But hey, I'm just a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, you're crazy, you're like literally selling off at 50% loss. How would you do that, right? I think this is gonna be a very, very harsh lesson for me, and I need to learn that I'm no longer a 17-year-old trading my 10K. I am a 25-year-old who's trading more than that with other people's money. I have to be responsible for my investors, have to be responsible for my own portfolio. And if I sniff any scent of I'm just like very uncomfortable of parking my money somewhere, I'd rather take a loss and invest it somewhere else. And I firmly believe that I can make that money back. But guys, don't worry, Jimmy is still going to be covering Mmat for you guys every single day, and I will just be sitting on the sidelines and maybe provide some of those valuable price range that you guys really wanted. Those price range and those predictions are originally the reason why you guys are on my channels anyways, because we have just excellent prediction, more like excellent algorithms and excellent mathematical minds to figure things out, right? And there's nothing personal. Hey, if anybody at Meta is watching, this is nothing personal. It's just something that we feel is the right thing to do. And thank you so much, Meta Material, for responding to our email this quickly. And we just want to say that, hey, we could have do this in private, but it's probably just me or number two and I, haven't thought this through and sort of put this on public, which, ignited this drama and resulted in, we're getting threats from a lot of different social platforms. We're getting, almost close to death threats at this point now, and it's making us really uncomfortable, and we realize that any investigation takes years, and maybe we are fighting the wrong battle for the wrong people here, and I'm not really sure anymore. If you guys have any thoughts on that, comment down below. And hey, I mean the IR already sent out this response. It must be like correct, right? There's no way that the IR is wrong. So hey, this is it for right now. And for those of you who sort of want a follow-up on this, we're probably gonna post more and more, or post our previous mathematical findings on Patreon, because we don't want to disturb the public anymore. And yeah, this is pretty much it. And good luck and have fun. And see you guys on the upside.